All of this came out from the House Ways and Means Committee, published in a press release. This is being sent out by Smith, who is the representative who's releasing this. He says, we've got testimony now of employees from the IRS. They reveal that the Biden IRS and the Biden DOJ, they interfered in tax investigations. Okay, so they're on the team of Hunter Biden revealing preferential treatment for wealthy and the politically connected. And as Byron Donald says, and notice very astutely, white. He's very white. Hunter Biden is very white, and he's not going to prison. So here's what they say. A Ways and Means Committee executive, a meeting resulted in a vote to release to the public whistleblower testimony of two different IRS employees who worked directly on the tax evasion case of Hunter Biden. Okay, so they're on the team. It's not like somebody who heard about something who heard some phone call, right? And we hear that a lot. That's a big critique from the left. These guys worked on the case. That testimony outlines misconduct and government abuse at the IRS and the FBI in the investigation of Hunter. The allegations point to a steady campaign of unequal treatment in enforcing tax law. You're kidding. Department of DOJ interference in form of delays, divulgences, and denials into the investigation of tax crimes that may have been committed by the president's son. And finally, retaliation against the employees who blew the whistle on this misconduct. Jason Smith from Missouri, he released the following statement today, and we're going to listen to him in a minute. He says, today, the Ways and Means Committee voted to make public the testimony of IRS employees who previously testified behind closed doors, blowing the whistle on misconduct at the IRS and Biden DOJ, unequal enforcement of law, interference, and government abuse in handling these investigations, saying the American people deserve to know that when it comes to criminal enforcement, they're playing on the same field. Yeah, right. Now, whistleblowers, he says, describe how the Biden Justice Department intervened and overstepped in a campaign, but employees blew the whistle on this thing. So here is what the committee has learned. The federal government is not treating all taxpayers the same. They're providing preferential treatment. They tell us, they say, despite the fact that IRS officials who were presumably on this team, recommended that Hunter Biden be charged with criminal activity that includes other crimes like attempts to evade or defeat taxes, like making fraud or false statements, like making willful failures to file returns, to supply information, or to pay taxes on over $8.3 million in income. Mr. Biden received preferential treatment in the course of this investigation, and now he has struck a plea deal that's likely going to keep him behind bars. However, we know that in 2014, somebody else in the Southern District of Florida got 13 months in prison and a year of probation followed by supervised release for the same misdemeanor tax offense that Hunter was charged with. Amazing. Unfortunately for that dude, daddy wasn't the president. So Congress says this was an interesting tactic that the DOJ and the FBI engaged in. It's called delay, divulge, and deny. And I love that alliteration. That's pretty good. The DOJ interfered in the investigation into Hunter's clear tax issues with the delay, divulge, and deny campaign. And that shielded him by allowing the statute of limitations to pass. The law expired. Oh, man, we missed it. Now, oftentimes, this is a defense for lawyers. And sometimes in a DUI case, for example, they won't be able to get the blood results back before the statute of limitations expires or for whatever reason. It's not very common, but it has happened. So delay, when they reviewed the record, we've got recurring unjustified delays pervaded this investigation, including in authenticating the message between Hunter and Chinese officials. Investigators were told by U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf that, quote, there is no way a search warrant for evidence would get approved because the evidence of interest would be found in the guest house of former Vice President Biden. We can't go get a search warrant for Vice President Biden. We can only get search warrants for people named Trump. So they delayed. Then they divulged. Investigators found out that attorneys for Hunter Biden were tipped off about actions relating to the investigation in advance. Even as investigators had probable cause to search a North Virginia storage unit in which Hunter Biden had stored files, attorneys for Biden were tipped off. They were notified about it. Biden and the DOJ and NARA, they're all covering each other's butts. And then there was also a deny. U.S. Attorney of Delaware, David Weiss, tried to bring charges, actually tried to charge in District of Columbia in March. He wanted to charge Hunter with another crime, was denied. He sought special counsel status from the DOJ in the spring of 2022 and again was denied. And so this, I think, actually was written by Smith. Delay, divulge, and deny. This is nice alliteration. It came from, sounds like Republicans. Delay, divulge, deny. I like it. Now, IRS employees worked through the chain of command to blow the whistle on this misconduct, only to be met with hostility and retaliation. That's why they're whistleblowing. Actions were taken to cut the IRS investigative team out of the process after they raised concerns. One whistleblower was not selected for a position when he was more qualified than the other candidate. Limits and pauses have been placed on others, and unrelated investigations that the whistleblowers are working on all hamper their ability to do their work or advance. The whistleblowers and later the entire team were ultimately removed from the investigation after blowing the whistle. They said, oh, these guys are onto us. They took them off the team. So a lot of problems here, and this is just scratching the surface. We're going to go through the transcripts in order, but this was from the House Ways and Means Committee, and they're notifying us that if you happen to be a whistleblower at the IRS, contact them. So now, this is what the press conference sounded like. This is Representative Jason Smith explaining to America exactly what is happening with the Biden crime family.
I want to thank you all for coming. I can now confirm that we have credible whistleblower testimony alleging misconduct and government abuse that is resulting in preferential treatment for the president's son, Hunter Biden. Mr. Biden has been under investigation for tax crimes that include evading taxes on income from foreign sources. Only the Ways and Means Committee has the ability to report this information legally to the full House of Representatives and thereby make it known to the American public. Doing so is an important step in preventing future misconduct, encouraging other whistleblowers to come forward, and considering possible future legislative reforms. As I mentioned in my remarks before the executive session, there are 3 areas of focus in the transcripts of interviews with whistleblowers. Number 1, the federal government is not treating taxpayers equally when enforcing tax laws.
No, they're not.
Number 2, whistleblowers claim the Biden Department of Justice is intervening and overstepping when it comes to the investigation of the president's son. And number 3, these whistleblowers report they have faced almost immediate retaliation. Let me provide detail. On number 1, not 1, but 2 IRS employees are blowing the whistle.
2.
With evidence that the federal government is not treating taxpayers equally when enforcing tax laws. The whistleblowers were working on an investigation into Hunter Biden that opened in November of 2018 as an offshoot of a separate corporate investigation by the IRS. Let me emphasize, this was an investigation in the ordinary course of work at the IRS. It was not ordered by any individual, any chairman, or any political entity. The testimony we released today shows the IRS recommended charges against Hunter Biden that included attempt to evade or defeat tax, a felony, fraud or false statements, a felony, and willful failure to file returns, supply information, or pay tax. These tax crimes cover an estimated $2.2 million in unreported tax on global income streams to Mr. Biden and his associates from Ukraine, Romania, and China.
Here we go, Mr.
Totaling
Biden.
$17.3 million from 2014 to 2019. Mr. Biden personally received $8.3 million. Whistleblowers detail foreign payments to Mr. Biden, including $664,000 from the Chinese company State Energy HK, a large diamond worth $80,000, and a Porsche worth $142,000. These payments are just a fraction of the total, but they provide insight into a world of wealth and influence that no ordinary American would recognize. And what plea deal did Mr. Biden just receive? A slap on the wrist for charges that have put other Americans behind bars. As I said, the federal government is not treating all taxpayers equally. Number 2, whistleblowers claim the Biden Department of Justice is intervening and overstepping when it comes to the investigation of the president's son. Despite what whistleblowers described as a clear-cut case for tax liability on these payments, IRS investigators say they found themselves hamstrung internally. The testimony we have just released details a lack of U.S. attorney independence, recurring unjustified delays, unusual actions outside the normal course of any investigation, a lack of transparency across the investigation and prosecution teams, and bullying and threats from the defense counsel. This was a campaign of delay, divulge, and deny. Whistleblowers say reoccurring unjustified delays pervaded the investigation, including in authenticating a WhatsApp message in which Hunter Biden demands payment from Chinese officials, noting that his father is in the room.
Daddy's in the room.
The whistleblowers revealed IRS investigators were told by U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf that because the evidence would be found in the guest house of former Vice President Biden, quote, there is no way, close quotes, a search warrant for evidence would ever get approved.
This is a message from Hunter Biden right now. It says this: I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand. And now means tonight. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father. That's Joe Biden.
IRS whistleblowers told this committee that crucial information about the investigation was divulged to Hunter Biden's attorneys. For example, even an investigator had probable cause to search a Northern Virginia storage unit in which Hunter Biden had stored files. Attorneys for Biden were made aware prior to any search, providing them valuable time to remove any materials that could be useful evidence. Few Americans qualify for such soft glove treatment from federal investigators. Testimony shows that U.S. Attorney of Delaware David Weiss tried to bring charges in the District of Columbia around March of 2022 and was denied. Weiss sought special counsel status from the DOJ in the spring of 2022 and was once again denied.
Sorry.
Weiss sought to bring charges in the Central District of California in the fall of 2022 and had that request denied in January of 2023. Yet U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland told Congress that Weiss had all the authority necessary to pursue the charges. Well, which is it?
He didn't.
Number 3.
Merrick Garland, the U.S. Attorney General, said he could do whatever he wants. He could bring the charges. He could do this, that, or the other thing. It's not in my hands. I don't even talk about it. It's only my boss's son. It's only the president's kid who's living in the White House by all accounts. So that's not true at all. He was only limited to Delaware because he was assigned to Delaware. He's like, can I go to D.C. and charge him there because he was in D.C.? No, you can't. Can I go to California, charge him there? He was there too. No, you can't. Can I charge him here in D.C.? Not really. What kind of a plea deal are you working on? We know where you live.
These whistleblowers report they have faced almost immediate retaliation. They say they tried multiple times to sound the alarm internally at the IRS and raise concerns with the Department of Justice prosecution team.
There are 2 notes on dates here. April 23rd, 2023, IRS Commissioner said the following: Mr. Chairman, I can say without any hesitation, there will be no retaliation for anyone making an allegation or a call to a whistleblower hotline. IRS Commissioner said that April. Guess what? Liar. May 15th, 2023, IRS whistleblowers and the entire team were removed from the Hunter Biden investigation. Oh, interesting.
Their concerns were not given fair consideration. One of the whistleblowers was passed over for a position when he was more qualified than the candidate selected by IRS leadership. and roadblocks. Roadblocks have appeared in the course of their other unrelated investigations. Now that they have testified to Congress, they have been removed from the investigation. These individuals are risking their careers and reputations to do the right thing, which is to come to our committee, the only committee that can legally receive their testimony and share it with the House of Representatives. In closing, I'll repeat the 3 key findings from today's release of whistleblower testimony. Number 1, the federal government is not treating taxpayers equally when enforcing tax laws. Number 2, whistleblowers say that the Biden Department of Justice is intervening and overstepping when it comes to the investigation of the president's son. And number 3, these whistleblowers have faced almost immediate retaliation. The scales of justice cannot be tipped in the favor of the wealthy and the politically connected. No one is above the law. I'll turn it over to Mr. LaHood.
No one is above the law. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting when, I don't know, hopefully the Republicans win and indict half the party of the Democrats and maybe their own party.
Well, thank you, Chairman Smith. I'm Congressman Darren LaHood, former federal prosecutor. I just want to make a couple points. When the American people
get closer to that mic,
I think you'll see a level of criminality that I don't think anybody expected to see in these whistleblowers' transcripts. And that's the first point. The second point that I would make is it is not a coincidence of the timing of what happened this week. Everybody knew these transcripts, and we had this hearing today was going to happen, and you had a plea agreement that was entered to on Monday. This could have been done a long time ago. It wasn't. So I want people to pay close attention to the timing and the plea agreement and what happened here today. Number 2, when you see the level of criminality that is revealed in these transcripts,
we're reading them.
There's going to be a lot more questions that are people going to want to ask. Why didn't DOJ go further? Why didn't they look into a bunch of these allegations? Why was it done so abruptly and quickly, this type of plea agreement? As a former Department of Justice prosecutor, I think it's very unusual the way this plea agreement was entered into before all the evidence was received, and you'll see that through the whistleblower reports here today. So I give Chairman Smith a lot of credit for having this hearing today, releasing this to the American people.
Shout out to Chairman Smith.
The media and the American people to read this and let them decide. Thank you.
Do we have any questions?
What are next steps for the committee? You're going to be releasing these transcripts today. What else will the committee do moving forward regarding this?
Like I said all along, we're going to follow the facts, and that's what we're doing. There's other people that we need to talk to based on the transcripts, and we're going to continue to make sure that government works for the people, not against the people, and that everyone is treated the same, regardless if they're wealthy or they're politically connected, and that has not been the case.
Have you requested any of the underlying tax returns, audit records, or other IRS documents related to this case?
Good question. Have you requested any of the other underlying documents? This is going to be a question that I've got. When we go through it, I imagine there's going to be talks about conversations that were had. Whistleblower says, I talked to this guy, I talked to this guy, I did the things, right? Here are things that I did. And a lot of the time, that is memorialized in some way, shape, or form. Somebody sends a follow-up email, hey, great meeting with you, or I had something to do after that. Or even people will take notes and memorialize things themselves, right? Mark their calendars up or keep tabs in different files. I spent 1 hour on this. In other words, I was investigating Hunter Biden for 6 hours today. Here are my logs on what I did. And now my logs are like gone because my investigation's over because somebody told me I can't do it anymore. So the question is, what about all of that other material, like the case files, the memoranda, the emails, the declinations, the meetings, all the calendar invites? It's all there, right?
We have not requested any of Mr. Biden's tax returns, for example, if that's where you're getting at. And these were 2 whistleblowers that voluntarily testified before this committee that felt like what they saw at the IRS was wrong. What they saw working with the Department of Justice was wrong. And the testimony was more than 14 hours, so you'll have plenty of time to be able to review them.
Ranking Member Neal mentioned that one of the whistleblowers was someone you invited in yourself and not someone who came forward. What is your response?
That's kind of construed the wrong way.
Question was, it sounds like you invited somebody in, they didn't come to you. What do you say to that?
The first whistleblower absolutely came and contacted us. The second one, we were told that the second whistleblower wanted to talk to us, but they wanted us to reach out to their legal counsel and just do the official request. That's what we did, but he paid for his own way here, his own hotel, and he did it upon himself.
And secondly, Ways and Means, this isn't oversight or judiciary. You guys are not a law enforcement committee, but it seems like what
Are you investigating crimes? You're just a committee in Congress.
Well, if you look into the history of the Ways and Means Committee, we have 6 subcommittees, and one is oversight. And so that is a responsibility.
Yeah.
My first week, I set up a whistleblower hotline as chairman, and we have been getting a lot of whistleblowers from the IRS. And in fact, this is where the facts are leading. Of course, we have special authority under 6103 that certain taxpayer information can only be made public by our committee, and that's in fact what we did today, so that the process can continue, especially for the committees that might need information that we have.
Will you be requesting any other materials from relating to this investigation regarding tax documents or underlying materials that these whistleblowers brought up in their testimony?
We're not going to put the cart before the horse, but we're going to follow the facts and make sure that justice is taken care of.
Yeah, it's basic oversight. I mean, if the IRS is corrupt and they're only prosecuting disfavored defendants, as we know that they were doing during the Obama years, targeting conservative groups and such. But here, if they're protecting the president's son, yeah, that's a big problem. You've got double standards. You've got unequal protection of the law, and Congress might want to do something about that in funding the IRS, and that's part of their oversight.
One of the allegations from Democrats is that one of the key witnesses were their testimony. What do you say to that?
I have no idea what.
Question's hard to hear. She said something about the Democrats are saying one of the sources is something and it faded out.
Witness they're talking about. The 2 witnesses stood by it. And the Democrats, unlike the last time that anything was done like this, they've been part of the process the whole time. Both of the whistleblowers have every communication they've done with me, they've copied with the ranking member. The ranking member had opportunity to set in depositions with the whistleblower. He didn't do it. I did. I've met the whistleblower. I've spoken to him. I'm telling you, these people are credible. This is why we released the information.
Yeah, they used to work for the IRS, and they were, I guess, qualified enough to be on Hunter's case.
Talk about the timing of why right now it's important to make this information public and why you chose to take this step at this point in the investigation.
Why are you making this public now?
You know, we've been pretty busy. Less than 5 months on the job here. We passed an economic package. We passed the most bipartisan trade agreement. And we've been doing aggressive oversight that may not have been so public because of 6103. We've had to be quiet. We were at the opportunity that this is the point. Just so happens that other people decided to move at the same time. So thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
It's just a coincidence. Hey, you Democrats can play this game where you drop your dumps. You drop the FD 1023 dump on the date that you indict Donald Trump, and we can do the same thing. So Hunter takes his little plea deal, and then the Republicans come out and they hammer him with this whistleblower drop that reveals a whole lot more.